Hey everyone, and welcome to your C++ tutorial on compiling and linking header files. So, just a little review for you real quick. We have our main program here. It has a class that's written the same file as it. Here's our main method, which is the entry point to our program. We also have a second class called odometer that's separated out into a header file and an implementation file. This is our header file. This is our implementation file. Now what we need to do is we need to include this code in our main program here. So to do that, we're going to create a preprocessor directive for include. We're going to include odometer.h, right? And so that includes our code in our header and implementation into our C++ file here. So now what I'd like to do is I will just create an odometer object down here, odometer, and you see we're getting IntelliSense for it. I'm going to call this odometer and set it equal to new odometer object. And we will say, in our cout, we'll just say max speed, and we will call odometer.getMaximumSpeed. So that should print out 500. Okay, awesome. So we've included our .h, our header, into our main program here. Now the next part that we need to do is we need to compile and link it using our G++ compiler. Okay, so before we get into the commands that we're going to run in our terminal here, I would just like to point out a couple things. If you remember at the beginning of this tutorial series, or the beginning of this class, we talked about how C++ programs go from human-readable code like this to machine code, which is like binary code. C++ programs go through a process of compilation and linking, and there's a preprocessor stuff that happens before that. So we have our preprocessor directives that kind of organize things. We have our compiler step, which generates object code, and then we have a linking step, which links all of our code together and produces an executable, which is what we've kind of been doing. So generally what we've done in the past is we use our G++ compiler, we put in our file name, so in this case main.cpp, and then we run the code. But if we do that here, we get a linker error, right? So it compiles fine, but we're getting a linker error, and it's that we can't find odometer get maximum speed. Now, how's that possible when it's right over here, right? Well, the issue here is that we're not compiling this .h and this .cpp file here. So when we include it, we're giving a reference to code that is not compiled yet. So we need to compile that first. I'm going to clear our terminal here. And I just also like to just show you this code exists in a folder, and the folder looks like this. Oops, sorry, let me pull this over. Folder looks like this. So we have these three files here. We have our odometer.h, our odometer.cpp, and our main.cpp files here. And you can see that if I do an ls, you can see these three files over here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to use our G++ compiler to just compile our odometer.cpp file. And now if we do an ls, we can see that we now have this .o file here. So this is our object file, and it contains the code that the linker is going to link up with our main.cpp file here, which is where our program is stored, or like the main running of our program. So what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to use G++ compiler, and I'm going to compile our main program too. And if I go here, you can see now we have a main object file as well. So we have our odometer object file and our main object file. Now all that's left is to link them together and produce an executable. So to do that, I'm going to pass in our odometer. I'm going to use our G++ compiler, pass in our odometer.o file, and our main.o file. Hit enter. And if I do an ls, we now see we have our a.out file. This is our executable file now. So if I run our executable, we see max speed 500, which is our printout here. So that is basically how you compile and link a header file to your main.cpp. I hope you guys learned something. Thanks.